Dread to think how many views it's had by now, how many reposts it's had.
Look, I'm sorry it was horrible.
What are you watching?
Oh, there's nothing, really.
Just 'cause it you.
Excuse me?
But you're pathetic, do you know that?
I'm sorry, but it's not a crime, is it?
You disgust me.
Come on, I was just watching, like, Steven Seagal. He's like a ninja in the jungle. He's high-kicking like Michael... What is wrong with you? Are you like the fun police now, or what?
Sorry, mate.
It's just unbelievable.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Welcome to episode 307 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that doesn't know how any new character can walk into Chesney's house and not mention that there's an enormous fridge in the living room. I'm Gavin.
And I'm wondering if the show remembers it's already done the deepfake video thing and the sex tape thing. Do you remember the deepfake of Maria?
Yes.
Yeah. It's done that. And Ash's...
Sorry, I was just so confused that we're jumping straight into the show.
I mean, we'll talk about this further later on, but it was just, it stuck out to me so much that, first of all, we don't need any more trauma for Abby. She's already got the trauma of the whole Corrie thing. Of course, this is tied to the Corrie thing, because let's remember, ITV Corrie is the one who made the sex tape of Asha, which wasn't really sex. It was just nudity, but still.
A dirty tape.
Yes.
Anyway,
we'll talk about this later.
I am completely thrown off track by your Corrie chat.
It was either
in minute one.
It was either that and my chihulies are jiggling.
Maybe later. Do you know we've got a chihuli in the foyer of my work building?
Yes. It was assigned to us from God.
And it's gone.
What?
It's not there anymore.
What?
It's not there anymore.
Where did the chihuli go?
I have no idea.
Did they move it to the other side of the building? To the
maybe.
other entrance? Maybe they're spreading the art around a little bit better.
I'll need to speak to the security guards, but I've got a feeling they might not know what I'm talking about. There was a big bowl in that display cabinet. Where's it gone?
That one security guard should know. She's pretty smart. She's pretty with it.
She's not there anymore.
What?
She's not there anymore.
What? I leave and that place falls apart.
Seriously. Anyway, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. Busy week. Cataloging things.
Been cataloging. Oh. Auction talk.
Yeah, my boss brought like all of this art in for me to look at today, and that was quite exciting to look at art and say yes, 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 oh God, no, yes, yes, thank you. She also brought me some Santa blow molds, and those went into the next auction God. Right away. So I'm very excited for that. People are like, why are you selling Christmas stuff? It's May. It's because, dear listener, you know all of those catalogs and advertisements and displays and things that you get around Christmas time? Companies are making them now. So they're buying Christmas stuff now. And also, blow molds are very collectible and people buy them all year round because they're cool.
Very good.
We have some in our garage. We don't have Christmas ones, though. We have Halloween ones. Because I'm spooky.
You put Halloween stuff out and then you never put it back again. That's all I've got to say on the matter. Halloween welcome mats out in April and all that kind of stuff. You love putting the stuff out. Once the thing is finished, not so much.
That's why I didn't put any Christmas stuff out this year. I was just...
Right.
I was just like, it's not worth the effort. And nobody ever wants to help me. But then they complain because I don't do it. It's like, well, then Stelly complained to me. And I was like, well, okay, let's set up a time. You and I can do it together. And that never happened.
There you go. There's the answer.
There is the answer. But yes, a little behind the scenes tip. Sell your Christmas stuff now. People are buying.
I don't have any music for Helen's tip of the week. But if you keep this up, I might have to come up with one.
Yeah.
Are you off on Monday?
I am.
Because it's Memorial Day in
Yes.
the US. It's just a regular Monday in the UK.
Yeah. It's Memorial Day.
Is it anything in Canada?
Where we have that solemn the solemn parade where nobody throws candy and all the children are confused because nobody throws candy. They're not supposed to throw candy anyway, but they do. Just not here. How was your week?
The less said about it, the better.
It's very hot here.
It was a hot week, yeah.
It was a hot week.
Hot in the office.
And it's May.
Yeah, 90 degrees, I think, on Monday it was. And
Monday,
it was sticky.
It was the first day of the year that I had to take 2 showers. One in the morning and one in the evening. Usually that doesn't happen until July or at best mid-June. This year it was mid-May. So hot. So hot. And I'm not just talking about you in your Detroit Red Wings jersey.
Right.
So sexy.
Which is really the worst thing I could be wearing today.
It's true.
It's so thick.
Yes,
All right.
because it's cold on a hockey rink.
Shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that blistering Corrie news.
Brooke Vincent has confessed that she's concerned that she's just a one-trick pony on the Drama Queens show. She was talking to the other ladies and saying that she was worried that she was just a soap star and that all she could do was Sophie Webster. But fortunately, this isn't the case, as she's taken on a stage role in Kay Mallore's The Syndicate. So well done, Brooke, and we look forward to many more successes in your career.
Now, you remember the character who played Harvey.
Yes.
His name was Will,
Mellor.
and I said that you pronounced that.
Mellor.
No. Mella.
That's what I said.
No, you said Mellor. It's either Mel or it's Kim. Meller. But it's more of an E sound at on the
Yeah,
E.
that's an O. It's not
Yeah,
an E.
but it's pronounced Meller. They don't say Mellor.
Well, this
And
isn't...
it's the same for this person, this writer, whose play you're talking about.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are they related?
Probably not.
All right. Well, anyway, good luck, Brooke.
Okay, don't do it again.
I'm not. British people on podcasts mispronounce American things all the time.
And you correct them.
Yeah.
So this
and
is us heading that off at the
and
pass.
They don't hear me when I correct them. So fuck British people for mispronouncing American things all the time, including actors on this show of Coronation Street. Let's not forget when the Sofa Cinema Club did that Will Ferrell movie, the NASCAR one, and completely messed up the name of Talladega Nights. I think they said like Taladonka or something, and there's not even a K in there.
You're talking about Colson Smith.
Who I'm sure is very lovely.
I'm sure he's an absolute
Yes.
fucking delight. But anyway.
He's a treasure. Anyway, Tanisha Gorey celebrated her 4-year anniversary with boyfriend Lucas this week with a trip to Disney.
Ooh.
So congratulations on 4 years. That's quite a feat for someone so young to stay with someone so long.
It is.
And finally, Catherine Tilsley's stage production of Bonnie and Clyde was unexpectedly ended early, apparently due to poor ticket sales, but I also know that she has not been well and had to leave the production for a period of time. So, it may be a number of things. I'm sure she's quite disappointed. And you would think that would do well. Bonnie and Clyde, who doesn't want to see that?
Well, sure. And well done on not saying Catherine Tilsdale.
She's not a kind of cheese.
Or horse.
Or Welsh city.
Or mispronounced last name.
And that's Corrie News.
When I log into the Talk of the Street podcast Facebook page,
Uh-huh.
I am constantly bombarded with news from Three Little Birds Bakery.
Yes.
I'm like, why am I following Three Little Birds Bakery?
Because we follow them.
Because
You know why.
Because I think, cut a long story short, and let's paraphrase slightly, they told Catherine Tilsdale to go fuck
You
herself.
said Tilsley
Deliberately. Isn't that right? There was a cake
There
fiasco
was a
or
cake
something.
incident.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's why we follow them?
Yes.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, why is all the information on this page about a bakery? I don't remember this. So, but it came back to me. Helen, thank you as always for a concise edition of Corrie News that leads us, as ever, seamlessly into our feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic.
Christmas on Mars.
I thought you'd forgotten about that.
Never.
No, not thought, wished.
Well, sucks for you. I will never forget.
Thank you to Wendy, who wrote in to say, I always wondered if there was a funeral for Sinkhole Leo and his dad, or a memorial service at least.
Or anything.
Like, right?
Let's not forget though, Robert never got a funeral.
I always like to go back to that, but they found the sludge that were the remains of
Right.
Sinkhole Leo. What did they do with them? They just threw them back in the canal or something? I don't know, but you'd have thought
No,
Jenny...
that wasn't Sinkhole Leo, that was his dad.
That's his dad.
Yeah.
Sinkhole Leo was burned to a crisp.
Well, his bones must still exist because there's no way that Stephen could make a fire that hot to burn bones.
Jenny, you'd have thought, would have been interested in having something
Like
for
some sort of memorial service
the
for
two
Leo
of them.
and his dad.
No relatives or anyone from Canada who would come to identify them. Weird, no, says Wendy. Maybe this
They
too.
weren't Canadian.
Maybe I know, but still, they were going to go to Canada. Maybe this too is a forgotten list item. Well, let's just
Where's
jump
Leo's mum?
onto Wendy's list of things the show has forgotten about. And I don't know if it's forgotten about it or it just didn't care enough about it.
Right. Also put that the show forgot that it's already done a sex tape story and a deepfake story.
Oh, hold on. Number 15 show has already done sex tape. I'm going to just put sex tape / deep fake and just put it down as a 1.
Right. Because Maria's wasn't sex, was it? It was, or maybe it was.
Yeah, it was dirty pictures.
Ah, yes.
And 16, let's just put Sinkhole, Leo, and Dad.
Are dead.
Memorial, question mark? Because they're not going to do it now.
No. No, and Robert will never have a... Maybe Robert and Leo and his dad are all sitting on the same shelf in the back of George's funeral home.
Yeah, I
And
think
we'll find them later.
Sinkhole Leo's dad will be in like in a jam jar or something. Because he's just sludge. Let's just quickly go through the list. Damon is a child abuser. Well, he's out the show, so they're never going to come back to that. Stu had a deadly cough. Roy gave everything to Nina, then never took it back. Toya is a murderer. Chesney's learning sign language. Yeah, what happened to that? What happened to antisocial Lauren? Somebody told us what her name was, and I've forgotten it already. Hope Stapes' fire starting tendencies. Sharon is the leader of Harvey's gang. Jack Webster, he was in it. He was in the show recently, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yep.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. It
Yes.
was the baby. Birdie was in it. Or not
No,
Birdie.
no. Jack-
Aggie. What is her child's name again?
Alfie.
Alfie. I should be able to remember
Jack
that.
was in it recently.
He wasn't.
He was.
He wasn't.
Because I made a joke that he's 47.
You did make a joke that he's 47. When did that happen?
I think last week.
Was it last week?
I think so.
So long ago.
So I'm going to strike through that. We'll bring it back again.
I'm sure.
As his boyfriend neighbour, I think that was Fergus. That is Fergus. George has a big fuck off house that no one currently lives in, and the show has already done the sex tape and all that stuff. So that's us up to date.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Wendy, for updating your own list so effectively.
That Gav is himself keeping.
And also thank you for saying Sinkhole Leo.
Yes.
It's always fun.
It is.
Michelle on YouTube wrote to say, so glad to have found you guys. Is there a mailing address where I can send coffee money? Sadly not.
No.
But there is
Ko-fi.
obviously a Ko-fi site, ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. More about that later. But thank you for your interest, Michelle.
should-
And thank you for watching / listening.
We should maybe set up like a P.O. box or something.
Oh, that's so 1950s, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but lots of people do it because they don't want people to send
I don't
things
need
to their
another thing to
homes.
check.
I would check it.
You wouldn't. Then Noel writes in, hello again from wherever the hell I am. Life is short, so I'll make this quick. I need to say right off that this obsession with Leanne's genitalia is concerning, but hey, who am I to judge? Speaking of Leanne, she's gone, the cult has her, and she'll next be seen on a security cam holding up an off licence. That would be hilarious. This week in Hair Wars, it's Simon's angry eyebrows versus Rowan's dumb as fuck hipster hair.
What about David's hair? Can we talk about David's hair, please?
He always has to have a bit fluffy up somewhere.
It's like sticking up all over the place. It's like you're supposed to be a stylist.
That's what barbers are like, though.
Are they?
Lastly, my segment called I'm Not Crying, You're Crying, Roy's new friend in lockup. Okay, bye from the world of two sons, Nolarama, the really fun guy. Thank you, Noel.
Yeah. Wait, he lives on Alderaan?
Didn't say that.
Two sons.
I don't think they have email, do they?
On Alderaan? I would assume so.
That was a long time ago, Helen. Do you not pay attention?
Yes, but they had technology so much better than ours.
Then Sharon writes in, hi, Ken and Deirdre. Hope you're both well.
Which one is which?
I'm still an avid listener, but what the fuck is going on with the writers? It's absolutely shite at the moment. They seem to have lost the plot in more ways than one.
Yeah.
If I was Peanut, I would definitely shit in their shoes this week. 2 forgotten babies in a fortnight. 1 turns up on the street as a policeman. What a coincidence. Is Demi something to do with Tommy or Rowan? Rowan is going to take all of Leanne and Nick's money. Didn't someone trick her into giving out her passwords and stealing all her money a few years ago? Yes, they did.
Yes, wasn't that... No, that wasn't the psychic, though.
No.
But the psychic also stole money from her. Or
She
con
lost
money.
like 50 grand or something, didn't she?
Something like that.
It's always a nice round number. Still think Joel had something to do with racist Kelly's disappearance. Yes, I agree. Loved Sally at the dinner party, was waiting for her to do her famous croque en bouche. Is it Cassie behind Abby's leaked pornos? Well, we'll get to that. Talking of kids' programmes, do you remember Round the Twist? Think it was Australian. That had a really good theme tune too. So yes, we're going to have to listen to that. Well, this is zany.
What is this for?
Round the Twist.
Have you ever felt like this?
Oh, I remember
How
this.
strange things happen. Are you going round the twist?
Are you going round the twist?
Ever felt like this?
There's
know-
a lighthouse.
Yes.
That's what the going round the twist is about.
Ah.
The staircase. It's very clever. Yeah, this is when we were all obsessed with Australian stuff in the late 80s,
Were you?
early 90s. Yeah, Neighbours and Home and Away and stuff.
You know what? You know what we haven't done? We have yet to play the theme song to Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Maybe one day.
This is American children's television erasure. I won't stand for it.
This is not what I expected.
We told you it was an a cappella group.
Well, she sneaks around the world from India to Carolina.
Is it a cappella or is it rockapella?
I think this is take 5. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
This isn't what I was thinking. What was I thinking of?
I don't know.
I was thinking a wee lassie with a backpack.
You're thinking Dora the Explorer?
That's what I'm thinking.
You think Dora the Explorer was something I watched as a child?
Hey, you do you.
That's just da-da-da-da-da Dora. Da-da-da-da-da Dora. Da-da-da-da-da Dora. Dora the Explorer. Dora, Dora, Dora
Okay,
the
we get the idea.
Explorer. Dora! Why did you think Dora the Explorer was Carmen Sandiego?
Explorer, where in the world? I guess that's...
And Wendy and I both mentioned that it was an a cappella group.
Well,
that
I've
did
never
the theme
watched either.
song.
Hence my confusion.
Oh dear.
Keep up the good work, because remember, we're talking about Sharon's email here.
Right, and Coronation Street.
Love, English, not racist, Sharon. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you to Sharon, Noel, Michelle, and Wendy for the feedback. Feedback is always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity. And now we'll podcast for coffee. We're drinking the wrong coffees this week.
Shameful.
Now, I'm
Not
going to
really.
talk about something fairly boring for a couple of minutes, so to distract our listening several from that, I'm going to do so over a bed of upbeat, copyright-free dance music. So, Stripe payments may and will likely be cancelled at some point in June. So if you're a friend of the podcast who donates through Stripe, those payments might stop.
Unless you use PayPal.
You can always switch to PayPal. And I have set up a Patreon account, which I didn't want to do because Patreon makes it feel like it's, I don't know, something more. I was quite happy with just Ko-Fi, thank you very much. This has nothing to do with Ko-Fi, this is completely to do with Stripe. They don't seem to like people who use their service for collecting tips, which essentially this is what this is. So it may be shut down. I complained to Ko-Fi about it. They gave me some spiel to use in response to Stripe, which I have done, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. But just to know, in future, Stripe payments may be cancelled. And Stripe payments are the credit card payments. So if you pay and buy a coffee using a credit card, you might not be able to do so in the future, and you might have to use PayPal, or go to Patreon, or just keep your money and buy yourself a coffee, which is absolutely fine. I'll be looking for alternative means, but PayPal actually doesn't take a cut, so that would be our preferred method of payment if we had to choose. So anyway, enough of all that. I hate talking about money. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes, but if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com/thetalkofthestreet. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month you can get mentioned in the closing credits of each and every episode. And I'll just say it because I might as well, patreon.com/thetalkofthestreet is also a thing.
It is.
But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. Whew. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Y'all, please.
Our first storyline tonight is Videodrone. On Monday morning, and Abby pops on the radio and hears about the TV show featuring ITV Corrie that Kev found out about last week. Mm-hmm. She's stunned, and Kev has to come clear as the radio describes ITV Corrie as the star. Furious, Abby goes to watch the show despite Kev's advice to the contrary.
Right, and it says that no matter what you've ever done, you can always become a hero. And it's like, playing soccer doesn't make you a hero, even if you haven't murdered someone. Mm-hmm. It makes you a soccer player with a lot of money and tattoos.
Well, not in prison, it doesn't.
Well, no. That's just tattoos.
Abby is not impressed by the documentary and a fellow inmate who calls ITV Corrie a hero trying to better himself. Abby rushes off to tell Nina, who has the same extreme feelings about the matter and goes to watch the documentary too. They can't understand why no one told them about this ahead of time. They go to see Dee Dee, who reminds them that no crime has been committed here and ITV Corrie is allowed to be in a documentary, and legal proceedings are very expensive, which is just our standard response to everything. This isn't good enough for Abby, who storms off, and she drags Nina to the TV production company, where they demand to see the producer, and they storm her office. The producer, though, this doesn't look like it's the first time someone stormed her office, and she's particularly calm about it, doesn't give a fuck. And
she really doesn't.
That it's a redemption story, and she refutes that they're profiting out of murder or glamorising violence.
Yeah, but they are.
Abby calls her a pathetic coward, and she and Nina leave.
This aspect of it interests me because this is something that has been coming up in real life quite frequently, with the rise in murder podcasts and documentaries and things, and then fictionalizations of horrible, horrible serial killers for entertainment purposes, and families saying, what the hell are you doing? We're still alive. We don't want to see this. We don't want to be reminded of this. You're not treating our murdered and eaten family members with any sort of dignity here.
Did you say eaten?
Yeah, I'm referring to Dahmer.
Oh, or Dennis Nielsen.
Yeah, there was that one too. I don't know. That one felt less glamorizing. I don't think as many people saw the David Tennant Nielsen thing.
Plenty of people saw that.
As opposed to the Netflix thing. Because it was very difficult for me to find the Dennis Nielsen thing to watch it when I was trying to finish David Tennant's filmography last year.
Yeah.
Not last year, the year before.
You found it though.
Yeah. This right here, to me, is very interesting.
I'm interested in it too.
Yeah, the stuff that comes later, not so much. But this is very interesting to me, and how it's being handled, and the callousness of the woman doing the documentary, or is the person in charge of the production company. Because you really should contact victims of these people before you make these things, because the trauma is still present. And so at the very least, you should give them an opportunity to attempt to avoid any contact with this program, which seems kind of impossible if they're talking about it on the radio. Also, Abby still listens to the radio. On a radio.
I listen to radio on the radio.
What radio? What
radio in the car.
What radio in this house?
Radio in the car.
Okay. Do you listen to the radio or just listen to podcasts and music?
No, I sometimes listen to the radio.
That's so weird.
I don't listen to the radio a lot because I kind of hate American radio. But I do listen to it sometimes.
NPR's fine.
I don't want news. Don't tell me things. I'm depressed enough as it is.
Yeah.
Don't tell me news.
Better to listen to the news than watch it on television.
Better to avoid it. No, it interested me from the perspective of what is the half-life of grief. At what point is it acceptable to make a documentary like this? And I think I would say that a couple of years from a violent murder is probably not enough time.
Not nearly enough time.
But if Abby had been given her right to reply and she could say on the documentary, look, this ITV Corrie character is an absolute cunt and he killed my son, he kicked his head in. He almost killed Nina. Absolutely horrific individual, and I hope he rots in jail. I don't know that makes it okay to make the show, but at least it gives her a chance to
another
vent
perspective.
Because the show is probably going to make it look like he's a great guy. Because you can make anybody look like a hero or a villain depending on what lighting you put on it.
Right, yeah.
And how you edit the thing.
Right.
So,
and something like manslaughter.
Well, he wasn't done for manslaughter. I think he was done for murder.
Was he? Because somebody mentioned manslaughter this week and it made me very confused. Yeah, I thought he got manslaughter because his intent was not to kill Seb.
No, I think he got done for murder.
Well, good. That's better. Although they said 14 years, and I'm like, surely he gets longer than 14 years.
That depends on the degree, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, you would, and I mean, that's something that I think, at least the ones that I have watched on Netflix that have been actual documentaries have seemed to go out of their way to make sure that they interview family members, and the family members talk about their trauma and how much they miss their loved one and everything. And you don't really hear from the actual murderers very often, except for on the one show, I'm a Murderer.
Well, the Piers Morgan did his thing, didn't he, where he was chatting to people on death row and stuff.
Who knows? I don't watch anything Piers Morgan does.
No, of course not. No, I thought it was an interesting take, and Abby as a multiple time redeemed person herself maybe is capable of seeing redemption opportunities in other people. I think she did in Cassie, certainly, and that's coming
Right.
back to bite her in the arse.
Yes.
Obviously not somebody who killed her son is
Right,
probably going to be
yeah.
high on her list of people who she's going to deem as redeemable
Yeah.
or have redemption possibilities. But it's interesting that her reaction to it is so not extreme, but very obviously an emotional reaction
Right.
to something that
It's
is
very
really
triggering.
emotional.
Yeah. I do find it kind of odd that they're making this more an Abby story than a Nina story,
Yeah.
considering Nina is the one who almost lost her life as well. Plus, you know, the trauma of watching her boyfriend get murdered right in front of her.
Right.
So I kind of wish that we were seeing a bit more of Nina's trauma. But
But it feels like this story isn't really meant to be the thing that you keep your eye on.
yeah, unfortunately,
This
it's
story
the other thing.
is just to set up question marks about other things, I guess.
Right. Question marks about other things that the show has already done.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
are less interesting.
Yes.
So here's an interesting thing to distract you from this less interesting thing that's about to happen.
Right, which we think it will be more interesting because it's scandalous and sexy and, you know, imposes even more trauma on women than we already have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back at work, and Abby gets a visit from PC Tinker now, who has received a complaint. Abby is far from apologetic and angrily reacts to the accusations. Tinker begs Abby to calm down. Calm down, dear. Which just makes matters worse, obviously, until he threatens to do her for a public order offence. Which is really strange because Abby was minding her own business
Right.
in her place of work,
Right.
not in public,
No. And also,
and was quite happy until he fucking showed up.
can you imagine?
Well, not quite happy.
Can you imagine?
She was quite upset.
Can you imagine Craig telling his mother to calm down? You'd think he would have learned.
Seriously.
By
you'd-
now,
But
you-
that's his tactic, though.
You never tell a woman to calm down, especially when they're righteously angry about something.
Abby dares him to arrest her, and Tinker backs down and warns her to stay away from the TV studio in future. All during this, Gary is patiently waiting to book his car in for an MOT.
Which is hilarious.
Afterwards, Abby is about to let all of this go when Nina drags her to Nina's Rolls because she's had a fabulous idea. Zuki from the Weather Gazette is there, and they offer her an unedited interview. In the interview, Abby tells the story of how Seb died and begs people not to watch the documentary and will have only succeeded in getting more people to watch. And all during
Well,
that, she's holding a
A
photograph.
photo of Seb on her lap, which you can only see the forehead of in the video that is being made. And nobody says to her, "Love, can you lift that up a wee bit, please?"
So while I was kind of in praise of the show for this interesting dynamic of the possibility of redemption, the half-life of grief and all that sort of thing, it all seems to be a setup for this video being taken just of Abby, unedited, with just her face, that presumably will become easily manipulated for the next part of the story.
Right.
And
yeah.
that kind of feels a little grotty. Just a little grotty. So on Wednesday, Abby is exhausted but up early checking out the comments on the Weather Gazette site. Surprisingly and unbelievably, they're all on Abby's side. Meanwhile, in Nina's Rolls, Cassie isn't impressed when Tyrone wants her to valet cars, and in comes Abby and shares her excitement about the comments section with Nina. Not only that, there's been a petition and an open letter. What is it with this fucking street and stuff going viral? Seriously. Back at work, Abby's dealer shows up for some cash. This is Dean. Remember Dean?
Yes.
Abby tells him to suck on her hairy balls and chases him away because he's there looking for money. Cassie arrives with coffees and catches the end of this exchange and suddenly remembers that she's dying for a bit of Kev's Bobby. Remember that? Remember
Yes.
when she was dying for Kev's Bobby?
Yes.
Later, Tyrone checks the garage email, gets a message from an unknown sender, which he obviously opens, that has a mysterious attachment that he obviously double clicks on. What the fuck is wrong with you, Tyrone?
Well, it says to the owners of Webster's Auto, which is hilarious because They're all kind of owners, aren't they?
I was disappointed
Cassie
that
is the only one who's an employee,
I was
really.
just disappointed that in the inbox there was messages from Kirk that had no subject, and I was interested in why is Kirk emailing Kev's autos?
He's probably sending.
Does Kirk have a car now?
He's sending funny memes. Maybe he takes the factory van in for service.
Sure, that'll be it.
Yeah, he drives it.
Shocked to his core, he goes to speak to Abby in private and explains that the mysterious attachment was a mucky video of her getting her hole. Abby, first of all, finds this hilarious because, no, of course it isn't. But when she sees it, she can't remember it happening and reckons it must have been when she was out of her tits on the muck. She reckons Dean must be behind this. She gets a copy of the email from Ty and heads off to the cop shop, but when she steps out of the house, she gets a call from Tyrone to let her know that the video has been posted to the comment section in the Weather Gazette, and now Abby is sure that everyone that she sees on the street has also seen the video.
And is looking at her with judgment.
And so she runs back in the house
Including
again.
a lady just trying to buy some avocados from Dev.
Right. But I guess that's how you would react.
Yeah, probably.
First of all, who's moderating this Weather Gazette website that's
Right.
allowing porn to be posted to the comment section?
Right.
I mean,
I'm sure they'll have it taken down.
tits in bio is one thing, but posting an actual video is something quite different.
Yes.
When Kev gets back to the garage, Cassie can't resist the temptation to spill the beans. What a cow Cassie has been this week.
Yeah, well, that's because she wants Kev.
Yeah. He storms home and Abby tries to explain, but he thinks that she's sunk to a new low now.
Oh, fuck you, Kevin.
Seriously.
Fuck you.
Thanks to this mucky video from God knows how long ago.
Right, yeah, when they were obviously not together.
She promised she'd told him everything. Why did she lie?
She didn't lie.
But Abby can't remember this happening, so couldn't have told him about it anyway. He can't unsee what he saw. Abby points out, wait a minute, I'm the exploited one here.
Yeah, seriously.
So he doesn't really need to be Mr. Judgy McJudgerson. But Kev can't deal with this and leaves. At least he doesn't shout.
No,
but honestly,
but
when he says to her, you've sunk to a new low.
Right. What the hell is wrong with him? I already hated this man. I hate him even more now.
He's worse now than he's ever been, I think.
It's just terrible. Your wife has been exploited on the internet, and all you can think of is yourself. This will get worse, by the way. This is about me and not you, the actual exploited person in the videos. This will get worse.
I don't know, you've sunk to a new low was a new low for Kev, I think.
Right.
Because who cares what Abby's done in her past? You've already accepted her for what she is now.
Right.
You can't do that and then start casting this up. And to say this is the worst thing that she's ever done? What? Worse than taking drugs when she was in custody of children? This is worse than that?
Yeah, seriously. Do you not forget that she nearly had a baby in the woods, Kev?
My name is Gavin. I'm pleased to meet you.
Oh, God. I could not believe this. I saw this scene on Instagram before I saw it on the show, and I could not believe it. I was like, this cannot... I am missing some bit of context here. This can't possibly be this bad. And I was right. It was even worse.
She tracks him down to the community garden and he apologises until Abby reacts aggressively to Dev laughing at something that he's watching on his phone. He's just watching Icon Has Cheeseburger, but Abby thinks that he's watching her getting her hole.
Like he would laugh about that.
Like he would look at it in public.
Right. And
chuckle
giggle.
across his... Yeah. Come on, Abby.
Especially Dev. Dev of all people. Dev, whose daughter was exploited by ITV Corrie in a sex tape.
Exactly. Maybe speak to Dev. He might have some tips here.
Right. And warn you about how incredibly expensive it's been.
He's still paying for that. Embarrassed, Abby rushes off to the garage where she phones Dean and leaves a message saying that she'll pay him his money tomorrow. A conversation that Cassie overhears.
Yes.
Close the door, Abby, before you make these phone calls. Close the door. On Friday, Abby is torturing Alfie by offering him his breakfast and then taking it away just as he's about to bite into it. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. But she's not paying attention, so she's not feeding him. And he's like, give me my fucking breakfast. But she's too busy on her phone.
But he's not crying or
Ironically.
anything. But he also looks like a child who is capable of holding his own spoon.
As he does later when Kev comes along.
Right,
'Cause
yes.
Kev's not
Well,
about
no, Kev tries to feed the kid, and the kid's like, no, not you.
just give me that spoon. I'll
You're
do it
evil.
myself.
Just give me the spoon. I'll do it myself.
Abby's busy frantically texting other sites that are now hosting the revenge porn. Kev is super angry at Nina's roles and snaps at Max, who doesn't really care about Kev's troubles. He meets up with Cassie and bites her head off too. Kev is imagining the whole internet getting off on watching Abby having sex. Tough wank. He explains that Abby has no knowledge of it being her, and Cassie says that she knew Dean was a scumbag, and then has to admit that she saw Abby and Dean talking, and Abby calling them yesterday to arrange a meeting today. Kev rushes off in a furious huff. Abby's meeting Dino at the precinct and proceeds to assault him for the mucky video of her and is about to smash his fucking face in with a spanner.
Good.
When Kev intervenes, Dean denies anything to do with any of this. As Kev talks Abby down, he's already phoned the police. So the cops question Abby off screen about this while they go through Dean's devices. That should be interesting. Meanwhile, Tyrone has found the video in 4 other locations, which sounds like he's actively trying to find it now.
Yeah.
You dirty man.
Yeah, seriously.
Abby watches that again. Or maybe these are different videos. I
Right.
think they're different videos, right?
Yeah.
Abby watches it again, and now she looks at it carefully because she realises that
Well, this is one of the new ones.
that's not her in the video because she doesn't have a tattoo of an anchor on her leg.
It's a dragon tattoo. She's not the girl with the dragon tattoo.
This must be a deep fake. Kev is baffled by this wizardry. Back at the garage,
He's like, but it's your face. Maybe
It's your face, Abby! Abby!
maybe your legs grew and you got tattoos when you were on the muck and I just never noticed them.
Maybe you picked the tattoo off. But Kev, I'm a black woman in this.
With a white face, really.
Come on, Kev. Keep up.
Come on, Kev.
Back at the garage, Kev explains to Cassie
Let's
this
not
was...
forget this is Kev who thought he could build a website last week.
That was fine. Jack was in it. He was going to get Jack to build the
He was going to get
website.
Jack to build the website, and Jack laughed at him and said,
I'm
"What
not
do
Mike-
I look like?
Mark Zuckerberg, chopped liver.
Elon Musk?"
Back at the garage, Kev explains to Cassie that it was a deep fake despite not knowing what that means. As Max saunters by to apologise for winding Kev up, and he learns about the deep fakes and says, yeah, you know what, anyone with a computer can do that these days. And he offers to do the garage website for free.
Right. Which is a nice gesture by little old Max.
After this, Dean has got the all clear from the coppers, so Cassie wonders who it could have been. Someone great with computers. And suddenly Kev has a prime suspect in his mind.
Right.
And he goes banging the number 8 door.
Cassie seems to have wound him up intentionally to go after Max.
Mm-hmm.
What does she have against Max now? Does she think Max wants to get with Kevin too?
So he barges in and accuses Max of creating the deep fake because he wouldn't pay him the £1,000 for the website and demands to see Max's computer.
And Max correctly says, "What are you talking about? I just offered to do it for free."
That was guilt. Max refuses as Abby barges in and drags Kev away. Back home, Abby accuses Kev of making this about him when this is obviously a grudge against her. Otherwise, do you know what? It would be Kev's face in the porno.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, well, when you say it like that, says Kev. Abby storms out to clear her head and she speaks with Nina and explains how difficult it is for the police to do anything about this and how this could be online forever now. Meanwhile, at the garage, Cassie has made a cuppa and doesn't understand why Abby was so upset about Kev's actions. She's obviously dying to get herself wrapped around Kev's bobby. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yes.
This had such potential.
It did. And then they said, you know what? Let's do the deepfake thing again. And the sex tape.
And a secret baby, probably.
Right, eventually. Because Abby doesn't have enough trauma. Let's throw some more trauma at
She has
Abby.
been relatively trauma-free for about a year.
Right. But then you give her new trauma with this whole ITV Corrie documentary, which is bad enough, but could have been interesting because it kind of relates to things going on in the real world.
Yeah, it does.
That doesn't really get addressed very often.
Absolutely. It posts questions about true crime.
And the ethics of it.
And, there are lots of podcasts out there that are very careful to keep the victims in mind when they're doing their little summaries. And then there's podcasts that
are
don't
horrible.
give a fuck about the victims. And
No.
I'm sure everyone's got experience of probably one of each of those.
Right.
Just as a podcast and on TV, on Netflix, documentaries and what have you.
And just entertainment shows like Dahmer.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that would have been interesting. And they could have gotten a lot of leverage out of it because, let's not forget, Abby's not the only living victim here. We also have Nina, who, poor Nina, first she's got the trauma with the whole Roy being in jail thing, and then now she has to contend with this. And we don't even really get any sort of inner perspective of Nina about how all of this makes her feel. And let's not forget, she already is still experiencing PTSD from this because of the way that she treated Asha in their relationship, where she was terrified of her ever leaving her sight. Mm-hmm. So much mileage could have been made of that without throwing in a stupid fucking deep fake sex tape or 5 of them. Because we all know who did it. We all know that ITV Corrie is behind this.
Do we?
Yeah, of course it is. Because of the petition, because of the fact that Abby did get change to be made in all of this. So he's probably pissed off about it.
Because I think the suspects at the moment are Max and Cassie. Cassie couldn't do it.
Cassie couldn't possibly do it, and Max has no motive.
Max could do it, but has no motive, and is far too obvious.
Right. It's got to be ITV Corrie or people who are on the side of ITV Corrie.
ITV Stefan.
On the outside, yes. I'm sure he could pay somebody to do this for himself. Oh my God, does that mean that we're going to get ITV Stefan back to make dramatic entrances?
I hope so.
That's a villain I'd like to see back.
Yeah, his dramatic
Unlike all of the
entrances
villains,
into rooms were one of my first meetings, I think.
Right. Unlike all of the other different villains that we keep getting over and over again.
At least we didn't see ITV Corrie.
No, yes. And thank God for that. Thank God at least we just see one of his mates in the documentary. We don't actually see him.
Yeah, the actor's probably off doing other things and has put all this far behind him.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess what this has done is it makes me appreciate something that I probably appreciated anyway, that if this happens to you, it's a fucking nightmare. And you wouldn't wish that. Maybe you would wish it on your worst enemy, but the idea of it is just deplorable, and the internet is in pain and all that sort of stuff. So, yes, that aspect of the story has come through loud and clear in case anyone missed the message on that. But that's a story that very much just affects Abby, or it affects Abby and Kev. It threatens to split them up again.
Right.
Can we go through another Abby and Kev split up again?
Can we please split them up permanently this time?
He's going to have to throw her out because he has to think of Jack, who is in his 50s now and has grandchildren and is spending for himself.
Here's the thing. I know AI is very hot right now and deepfakes are very hot right now.
It's
I get
tight.
it. I get it.
AI's tight.
Wow. But if they really wanted to make a story about AI ruining somebody's life or affecting somebody, it would be deepfakes of Roy confessing to murdering Lauren.
For
Racist
shagging
Kelly. Right. Well, no. Well, not shagging anybody. The fact that they
Just
seemed...
playing with himself then?
No.
Something has to be happening. Deepfakes have to have porn.
They don't. That's the thing. The most dangerous deepfakes are not porn. They're of like famous people and not so famous people saying really dangerous things that make people believe lies. You know, deepfakes of the president, for example, and things like that. So that would be a far more interesting story because it doesn't involve re-traumatizing a woman who's already been traumatized like 80 times on the show already.
Yeah. It was good, though, if it affected Abby and Nina, I think was the point that I was trying to make a few minutes ago.
Which,
better.
yeah, the point that I made like 3 times before you did.
This isn't a competition.
It's not.
Just as well because you'll be losing. So,
fuck you.
The next storyline is Bethany building bridges. On Monday, on the street, Sarah's leaving a message on Bethany's machine apologising for punching her lights out on Friday. Oh, I enjoyed that. David sees some tension between Sarah and Maria.
But does not see a hairbrush.
And asks them to be civil. They've all got to live and work together. David is suspicious to learn that Nathan has dropped the case and will be leaving town. Says Sarah. Later, Maria calls Gary to the salon about the £10,000 that's missing from the bank account. Thinking on his feet, Gary says that he needed to replace a boiler before selling the factory, and he paid a cowboy in cash under the table. He apologises for not telling Maria before. This, of course, is a lie.
Of course.
In the pub later, Maria's looking for Carla, but speaks to Sarah about the work Gary did before the sale, and Sarah is dodgy as fuck as she agrees that it happened. And
I do remember something about that.
But don't ask me any more questions about it, please. And David sees right through her lie, so Sarah confides in him about the blackmail scheme from last week that has left Gary 10 grand out of pocket.
And then David gets angry at her for telling him, and she's like, "You asked."
Yeah, because he has to work with Maria. She's like the sister that he never had.
I just love David and Sarah. The only time I find Sarah likable is when she and David are together, sparring.
On Wednesday, Daniel is putting on a tie ready to go to the young offenders thing to beg for his job back. But he doesn't let that get in the way of him patronising Bethany about watching shite TV and not reading books. He suggests that they all go shopping later and take Sarah along. Bethany is clearly looking for ways out of this shit relationship. But she goes shopping on her own, and when Sarah approaches her to apologise, she tells her mum to fuck off and give her space. At the florist, a concerned Mary beckons Bethany in for a chat, tells her how brave she was with Nathan in court that time, and how she should flick the Vickies at the past and just live for now. So Bethany invites Sarah round and accepts her apology, and understands that Nathan's return affected her too, so they make up. That's nice, isn't it, Ellen?
It is.
On Friday, Daniel gets a call from the young offenders. It's great news. His suspension has been lifted, and they want to see him over lunch. Bethany pretends to be made up for him, relieved that her cinema date has to be cancelled. Secretly,
what do you think they were going to go see? Was it Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? Or was it Challengers? Let's imagine Daniel seeing either one of those.
He wouldn't go to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And I don't think Bethany would either. She wouldn't want to see a stupid monkey movie. She'd go and see Challengers.
We saw the stupid monkey movie.
If you couldn't watch any old shite, though. Daniel would be watching Sallow, 120 Days of Sodom.
Yeah, that's not playing in any movie theaters in the world at the moment.
Daisy overhears...
And it's also terrible.
Secretly, in Nina's roles, he asks Sarah to check in on Bethany. Daisy overhears this and wonders if she should be the one to check in on Bethany, and she shares this with Carla in the overrun and understaffed Rovers. Carla's like, is there any danger of getting served here? No, well, Jenny will get to you when she gets to you, but, you know, they're understaffed, wink, says Daisy. She walks out.
And yet there are at least 3 other people who are employed there who could be working right now.
But Daisy and Carla are already seemingly kind of cool with each other again.
Starting to patch things up.
Mm-hmm. So Daisy manages to talk Bethany into letting her into the flat, and she apologises for the Ryan stuff and everything, and they have something in common with awful men and other men, not Daniel. Bethany doesn't think Daniel understands anything about what she's feeling, which rings true with Daisy vis-a-vis Justin, and the two of them agree on a fresh start. And on their way to get more booze, Carla gives Daisy her old job back because life's too short. Daniel gets home and is freaked the fuck out to see Daisy and Bethany being friends on the couch, but not like that, and quoting Mean Girls at him, and he immediately leaves.
That was hilarious.
And that's as far as we get that this week.
I loved that.
On Wednesdays, you wear pink.
Right, yes. She's like, it's a good thing you're wearing that shirt today and it's Friday because on Wednesdays we wear pink. And what else did they say? Did they say stop trying to make fetch happen, Daniel?
No, they just say fetch, I think. It's fetch.
Fetch. Your shirt is fetch. They say something else too, though. Did they say she doesn't go here? No. They do some other Mean Girls quotes, and I can't remember which ones now.
I think it's one of the highlights of Bethany since she came back was that scene.
Yeah. And then they're going to watch Barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they sent him out to get them more pizza and then tell him to fuck off. Bring us pizza and then fuck off. And that's great. That's great.
More people should say that to Daniel.
Daniel, bring us pizza and
Pizza
then
and fuck
off.
Yeah. So, Gary's lie.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Wouldn't be the first time and wouldn't be the last. I mean, there's no way that he can explain this to Maria and still be married by the end of the conversation. He can't say,
No.
I paid for Nathan.
To go away.
And by the way, what guarantee has he got that Nathan's going to go away?
None.
This is just
Which
so
is-
stupid.
Gary has worked with criminals before.
He was
been
one.
a criminal before. He should know better.
So this is just something else that's been planted that's going to get run over at a future point. And it's
Correct.
so obvious and disappointing that it is so obvious
Yes.
that Gary's in his lies, which has all started from Sarah trying to kiss him.
Yeah.
If that
And-
hadn't happened, none of this would be happening.
And yet he's the one who put the kibosh on that. And we're like, oh, well done, Gary. And now he's being a shitbird.
A shit bird.
What is it? What is it, Gary? Is it, are you a good guy or are you a shitbird? Because right now it seems like you're a shitbird.
Earth is a shit bird.
It's a bird full of shit.
Did you mean to say shit bag?
No, I meant shitbird.
Okay. I gave you an out. You didn't take it.
Didn't want it.
Fair enough. Has Carla forgiven Daisy too easily here? I mean, there's things that are going on in other storylines for her, but
Yes. And I think I think it's just a necessity as well, which kind of feels ridiculous because, as I mentioned before, Glenda, Sean, who we haven't seen lately, and Gemma all still work there.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be somebody behind the bar because all of those people are desperate for shifts, for money. Maybe not Glenda so much, now that George has kind of paid her off to buy Little Big Shots.
that she's not doing.
And then she's walking around with a fundraiser, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure.
I don't mention it.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not really a story.
Well, she and Hope walk around and hand out flyers and guilt Simon
car
into
wash.
giving money to a car wash, even though he doesn't have a car.
I feel like with Daisy getting her job back, that whole ill-gotten gain of the Rovers is kind of reset. The only difference is that Jenny and Daisy don't own the Rovers anymore, but,
Right, but
they
Carla
were
does.
kind of shit when they did, so
Right.
nothing really lost there.
Yeah. But now Carla's going to be overextended trying to run two businesses at the same time. But this gave her the opportunity to buy the factory. So that was good.
Yes. So that's that reset as well.
Yes.
All right, our next storyline is Secret Baby of the Week. On Monday, it would have been Zodiac's 31st birthday, and Bernie is planning on heading to the hospital for Paul when the car we didn't know that she had is towed away by cops for not having a valid MOT. Bernie protests and sees Christopher Green drive by and eye them suspiciously and immediately assumes that this is harassment.
It's so funny how MOTs keep showing up in storylines last week and this week.
I didn't know that the police actively went out looking for cars that don't have valid MOTs and then towing them away. I didn't think that their plates were so empty that that's an activity that they proactively go out and do.
Well, like a meter maid might do that. But those guys didn't look like meter maids.
No, they were the police.
Right. Well, meter maids are also members of the police.
Yes, right. So anyway, furious, Bernie storms down to the cop shop where
Don't
she's
you remember
shocked
Zootopia?
to see I love Zootopia, to see PC Tinker give Christopher Green a cupcake with a candle to celebrate his 31st birthday. What? What the absolute fucking hell, says Bernie as the penny drops. Christopher Green It's her son. He shushes her and they go to a private interview room where Christopher Green, or Kit, as he prefers to be known,
Why?
talks about a time 10 years ago when they arranged to meet and she bottled out. He gave up on her at that point and has no desire to get to know her now and insists that he isn't following her around. This is just coincidence. She's not his mum as far as he's concerned, especially considering that she kept the twins. Yeah, that did bother him. You were right about that last week. Bernie isn't proud of what she did, but thinks that she gave him the best chance of a good life by giving him away. Kit is unimpressed and has no questions about her or her kids. He just wants her out of his life for good. Bernie finally gets to the hospital and keeps the finer details of her day to herself as Paul has had his feeding tube fitted. But he's in good spirits. He's a cheap date from now on, he says. Bernie goes back to see Dev and tells him about meeting Kit and how Kit hates her.
Yes.
On Wednesday, Mary's and Dev's thinking about Dev's naked calendar, which now everyone is thinking about.
While fondling his avocados.
When Bernie comes in, she's making a spicy essential oil concoction for Paul and feeling a bit down in the dumps about Kit. Dev advises to give it time, but Bernie is resigned. Meanwhile, outside the hospital, a prick in a Ford Focus nicks a disabled space ahead of Billy. The guy tells Paul to suck his balls, but Kit appears out of nowhere, flashes his badge and tells the prick to move his fucking car. Paul and Billy are very appreciative. Back at the flat, Bernie is setting up all the essential oil stuff as Billy and Paul rave about that friendly copper and how he helped, and how it was the same guy Paul saw Bernie speaking to the other day. Says Bernie, and she heads off to the cop shop to thank Kit. Kit isn't impressed to see her again and insists that he meant what he said yesterday. Bernie, though, begs for a chance to explain. Kit doesn't see the point, but agrees to meet her later at home. So at home, Kit doesn't mention Chesney's massive fridge and explains that he was at the hospital to be tested for MND himself.
Yeah, of course he would.
Yeah. Doesn't hang about, does Kit?
No.
Now, when Kit saw Paul at the hospital,
Yes.
he was kind of curious. He was very pleasant to Paul.
Yeah, he
Wished
was
him the best.
He was also a bit terrified there, looking at him.
Yeah. He asks her again why she never showed up 10 years ago when he was 21, and she eventually admits that she was gassed and couldn't face his rejection. She shows him her biscuit tin of memories, but even this fails to melt his heart. His adoptive parents were good people and saved him a lifetime of bullying by changing his name. Realising that she's on a losing streak here, she tries to sell the benefits of his new siblings, Paul and Gemma. Kit likes Paul, but he's heard enough and mocks her for drowning in her contrived sentimentality and bids her a good day and a good life. I said good day.
I said good day to you.
On Friday, we kind of veer away from this at the Quad House where Gemma is preparing for one of Joseph's mates to come round from the fancy school, Oak Hill. She's planning a fish finger tea with peas, but thanks to Bernie, they realise that the place is a bit of a tip and they hurriedly tidy up. When Joseph comes home with Granny Linda, who looks like she's in Shawaddy Waddy, it turns out that she's treating him and his mates at the bistro instead, which of course puts Gemma and Bernie's nose out of joint and they accuse Granny Linda of taking over, and Granny Linda says, just as well actually, because this place is a mess after they've
tidied up, yeah.
Joseph admits that this was his idea and Granny Linda didn't know that they'd gone to so much trouble and really had no evidence that they had. Granny Linda is going to get a bolt hole in Manchester so they can use that in future for such meetings. And this gets Gemma really down in the dumps about not being able to afford the best thing in life for the wee J-man. That's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah. Can we please stop with this? Can we just...
Which part?
Granny Linda?
Yeah.
Because before, it did seem like she was well-meaning. But now she's just a cow.
Yeah, she's been a cow for a while.
Yeah. And every time she's on, it gets worse. And it's like, okay, I think we get it. I think we get that Gemma feels guilty for not having lots of money. We get it. We get it. The poverty porn is done. It's enough. Let's stop. Oh no, Joseph is going to a fancy school now, so now he's ashamed of his parents.
Mm-hmm. But Stop. It's nice that he's making friends.
Yeah, we don't get to see them.
No, because they don't exist.
Right.
But it's nice that he's settled into his fancy new school.
Right.
I guess is
Kill.
as a positive that I'm taking from that.
Kill.
What did you think?
Kill. Kill.
Oak Hill.
Oak Hill. Oak Hill.
Oak Hill.
Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill. Oak Hill.
Kill those oats.
Kill them.
Oat. Kill.
Kill them dead.
Kill the oats. And
What'd
then
you
eat
think?
them
What'd you think
with
of Kit?
applesauce.
What'd you think of Kit?
He's so tall.
It's a very tall man.
It's so distracting. It's like I'm still convinced that Bernie's one night stand was with Andre the Giant. I can imagine it.
Forgive me if I get a little bit Chandler Bing here, but could he be any taller?
He could. But still, it's interesting to me because I have adopted brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I have brothers who were adopted by my parents, and I have brothers who I didn't know existed until I was 12 years old because my mother had given them up for adoption. I have seen adult men try to have a relationship with the woman who gave them up.
Very difficult.
It is not easy. And I'm sure it's not easy for adult women either, but I've just, that's something I've never seen. And Kit is also a man. So it's interesting for me to see this kind of play out. The whole, no, I want nothing to do with you. And then he still comes back and kind of maybe does want to have something to do with you. Sort of the whole push and pull thing. You know, so it's very intriguing for me on a personal level. So I'm kind of enjoying it. I think it's weird that they made him a cop. I feel like that's kind of weird. I don't know why. And you know,
They've made him a cop, and they've made him
kind of a dick.
I don't know about that, but they made him in the circle of Swain. So
and
I would
Craig.
imagine that he has to have some part to play in next week's extravaganza.
Extravaganza.
Where it's on every day of the week.
Oh God.
For half an hour though, so we lose half an hour.
Okay. Well, I can
There's the bright side.
I can deal with that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do I kind of wish this storyline wasn't done so closely to Toya's secret dead baby? Yeah, I kind of wish that the
That's still
secret
unforgivable.
babies. I still think the secret babies should be spread out a little bit more.
And
But-
can I be once more outraged by the fact that Toya's secret baby only still seems to be there so Toya and Nick will bang?
Yeah. Yeah. I was very nervous when they were sitting on the couch drinking wine together
Very
this week.
nervous about that.
Yeah. So, and I kind of like the aspects of the story that kind of feel like Bernie reached out because, first of all, because Denny showed up and mocked her for it. So there's that aspect. But I think there's also an aspect of Paul dying that has made her want to reach out. But she can't say that to Kit
No.
because that sounds awful.
If my other son was well, I
wouldn't
wouldn't be
be
interested
looking
in
for
finding
you.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'm only looking for you because your brother's dying, sort of thing. It is interesting to me that Kit doesn't seem to want to have a relationship with Gemma and Paul because that's something that my older brothers very much seem to want more is the sibling relationship as opposed to the parent relationship. You know. So I find that really interesting. I did like him defending Paul with that asshole who took the handicap spot.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I like Kit. I think he's made a good first impression, much better than, I don't know, Joel, for example. I do think it is inevitable that he's either going to forgive Bernie and tentatively start a relationship with her, or going to do what you suggested and focus on Paul and Gemma, that the curiosity of a police officer
Right.
is surely going to get the better of him.
Either that or somehow during the whole Lauren thing next week, he's shot and murdered by whoever killed racist Kelly, aka Lauren. We've called her Lauren all this podcast. It's kind of weird.
I don't think I've said her name.
You did. You did earlier. I'm pretty sure. I know I've said Lauren, and it feels weird in my mouth.
So stop it then. Paul with his feeding tube.
Oh, God. How could I have forgotten about the feeding tube?
That's, I don't know that I have anything new to say about this, but it is just a reinforcement that we're really getting towards the end of Paul's life here. And when you see him
and it seems
getting
like it's
pushed around, he seems even less mobile than he was, and he wasn't very mobile before.
This feels very rapid now. Mm-hmm. It feels like every week we're getting closer to the grave.
Yeah, his speech doesn't have any moments of his old voice anymore.
Not really.
He's very much slurred 100% of the time, and he's keeping his spirits high, my God, but oh dear, it's very, very upsetting to watch.
Now, how is he going to take those pills?
Well, I think they get
crushed
blended
into a
up
slurry?
and put into the feeding tube.
Oh, God, that means Billy has to actively make a slurry and stick it in the feeding tube.
Yeah, I think that if Paul wanted to do this himself and take the responsibility for that, I think those days are gone now.
Yeah.
Which this is going to have to be an active act on Billy's behalf.
Oof.
Which
Yeah.
is going to leave him in some trouble after this dust has settled. Okay, move on to reality coding bites. On Monday, Simon is up and about and apologetic about how he got home last night. He totally blacked out. He apologises to Nick and Toya and promises that it's not an alky anymore and it doesn't have anything to do with Leanne before you start saying anything. He was just down in the dumps and he's off to meet someone. Later, Rowan drops into the bistro and hears about Simon's escapades but refuses to pass on messages to Leanne as it's a fucking retreat and that's the point of the retreat. Nick loses it and tells Rowan to GTF
and leave his family alone.
And KTF away from his family. Later, Rowan sees Simon and pretends to be on a power call. That was hilarious. He offers Simon a free place on the retreat to help him find his focus again, and even offers to give him a ride there. Simon goes to pack, excited, and Toya is super suspicious and thinks that he's being used by Rowan and the Institute, but Simon's got nothing to look forward to in any other storyline, so might as well fuck off to the retreat. Later, Toya wants to tell Leanne or Peter, but Nick thinks that Simon's an adult and they can't stop him. Well done, Nick. Doesn't give a fuck about anything. On Wednesday, Simon is packed and ready to go and recognises when Nick and Toya try to delay him. Toya wants to go to Morecambe with him to play the arcades. Simon would rather be brainwashed or have his vagina tattooed, thanks, or just go to the retreat. Either or. Nick decides to call Peter, and later Simon isn't happy with this development, reckoning that Peter could wind up back on the booze because of his worry. Yes, Simon, Peter ain't worried an inch about you.
Well, he's a little worried.
He tells Nick and Toya to keep their fucking noses out of his business. Toya calms him, and Simon reveals that Peter offered him a job on the yacht again. He worries once more that the job doesn't exist, or Peter is pitying him. Toya doesn't think either is true, so when Rowan arrives, Toya takes great pleasure in telling him that Simon won't be going to his stinking retreat, and will be going to a stinking yacht instead. Fair enough, says Rowan, and he gives Nick a wink and says that he'll say hi to Leanne for him. Smell y'all later.
And we know what that means.
So Simon gets packed for a different thing now, while Nick worries that Leanne is slipping away from him.
Right. And Toya goes to the storage unit to find a beach towel.
And get all her money changed into 2 pence pieces for those arcades. Fucking love the arcades, man. On Friday, I don't know why that tickles me.
I don't know either.
Toya playing the Tuffany falls where you put there's the platforms that move and push the coins and fall out. Toya fucking loves them, man.
She also likes to
tipping point
to do the flattened penny in the
wee souvenir machine.
Yeah, in the wee souvenir machine.
Oh, and then she eats too much sugar and she freaks out.
And then she takes a nap on the beach.
On Friday, at the factory, Simon drops in to see Carla despite not working at the factory. He tells her about going off to work with Peter, and Carla is elated. They arrange to meet up later, where Carla can show that she's... They arrange to meet up later, but Carla is actually secretly upset. Sarah Platt makes her a pity brew. It's funny because Sarah says that she's changed her name to Platt, and Carla is changing her name to Connor, so that's 2 Barlows that we're losing this week. Carla says that the pity brew wasn't needed and insists that she's fine, but maybe she thought Peter would come home to see Simon at some point. But if Simon is with him, that'll never happen. It was the right decision for them to split up, she says, but she still misses him. She meets with Simon and Nina's roles, and
I like the way that Carla taste tests her tea before drinking it because she's very suspicious.
Oh, still.
Because Sarah is Stephen's.
Yeah.
She like dabbles her fingers in it and then like tastes it and goes.
Once bitten. I also thought that was a nice detail that she thought that Peter would come home to see Simon.
Right.
And if Simon's with Peter, then he has no need to do that. I thought that was a nice little touch. So.
Are they actually... There are no divorce proceedings, though, yet.
Yeah, they've split up.
They've split up, but they haven't actually divorced.
Yeah, Carla's planning to do that, I think.
Yeah.
Because she's changing her name.
Right.
And the thing that's about to happen, if you'll let me get to it.
Before she gets divorced.
She meets with Simon at Nina's Rolls, and he shows her a photo of Peter on the yacht with his arms around a busty beauty. Nobody actually says it's a woman. But I think we assume that it is. Later.
And nobody actually says that she's busty.
No, I made that up.
Yeah, no kidding.
Later, Carla speaks
I'm judging you for that.
Later, Carla speaks to Ken about this, and Ken thinks it's a marvellous idea for Simon to go away. That's another member of his family fucking off. It's one less name to remember.
And it's one less grandchild demanding their cut of Deirdre's money.
It turns out, though, that everyone knew about the busty babe that Peter's hitched up with.
Would you stop that?
But Ken doesn't think it's serious and reckons that he'll take good care of Simon. Later, Carla's on Maxine's bench when Simon joins her, sorry for not telling her that Peter had moved on. Simon hopes she'll meet someone great too.
Yes. No spoilers!
If there's ever been an example of something being willed into the universe, it's the idea that Carla and Swain are going to have a relationship.
Yes, because
everyone that I'm friends with on Twitter, or there's a bunch of the same usual suspects,
yes,
are, as soon as it was announced that Swain was a lesbian, all jumped on this. It's got to be Carla. It's got to be Carla.
Doesn't Swain already have a partner
and
a daughter?
I don't know about the partner, but we do know that there's a daughter.
Right.
But we don't think we've ever heard of a partner being mentioned, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it's so very typical in this day and age that all of a sudden women in their 50s decide that they're bisexual now.
Why not?
It was bad enough when Tracy was like, oh, I guess sometimes I do like women.
That whole man-bear question is really making people think.
Carla's not a bear! And neither is Swain.
No. I'm all for it. I mean, if we're not going to see Toya at the penny arcades, then can we see Swain and Carla having a lesbian relationship?
Well, I have complained that there aren't enough lesbians on the street. You know.
What a power couple that would be, though.
It would. It would.
It would be astounding.
It would.
It would be astounding.
Swain is so much shorter than she is, though.
That's why you have your tippy toes. Yeah, I love this idea. Simon, God bless him, they're trying to get
We're trying to get
We're
rid of
trying
him.
to find a way to get rid of him, right? And it's not the retreat because the retreat's got to end, so he's going to have to come back. So send them out on a ship.
Right, and they're not
or a
killing him
yacht
off
that's gonna
with
go anywhere.
alcoholism.
That might sink, it might not. Who knows?
Right.
Onto this, wherever it is that Peter is, I don't think we find out.
No. I wish that he had just taken Simon with him to begin with.
Wouldn't it have saved so much
So much time
much
and
of this shite
aggravation.
of Simon becoming an alcoholic, worried about Peter becoming an alcoholic
Well,
at sea.
Peter is an alcoholic.
Or relapsing at sea and all this stuff. It could all have been avoided. And Carla wouldn't have to see the photograph. Because
she needed to see
Simon
the
would be
photograph,
away.
though.
Yeah.
I thought that they were just taking a break from one another. I didn't think that they were actually 100% done.
Done.
Done. Dun, dun, dun.
Absolutely. No, I think once he left, when he left, it was very much a full stop. It wasn't a comma, I felt.
Yeah, I thought it was more a comma, but I guess I was wrong.
Or at the least, a semicolon.
Or an M dash.
Or an end dash.
Have we
Game,
covered?
set, and match.
Or an exclamation
could
point.
You could add colon. Or a question mark.
You
All right.
already said colon, didn't you?
I said semicolon.
Oh. Or a colon.
Talking of semicolons, we did get a little hint of Rowan being
Slimy.
completely at it
Yeah.
when he suddenly pulled out his phone and pretended to be on an important call before he
Right.
spoke to Simon. And
Yeah.
I think that's really the first sign that we've seen of him playing the game a little bit
Yeah.
of his outward appearance not quite jiving with his inner behaviour.
Right, yeah. I was a bit disappointed that Simon was like, yeah, all right, I'll go to this retreat if it's
Nothing
free.
else to do.
Right. And it's like, Simon, don't you remember a couple weeks ago when you were saying that the whole Institute thing was a bit cringe? Remember that? Remember?
That was just the money. Our penultimate storyline tonight is Steve's Demi semicolon. On Monday, Steve was maudlin about fucking up his chances with Demi, who is again not returning his texts after spending the night checking out Tracy's socials. Tim advises that he knocks that on the head, no more fucking dinner parties, and he tells Steve to apologise to her. So Steve does, and the text works, and Demi meets Steve in the Rovers later. She agrees to give it another go, and Steve apologises for focusing on Tracy and Tommy O, but then he can't help himself and he launches into another soliloquy about how the two of them did the dirty on him. Fucking hell, says Demi. Have a nice
Fucking
life.
hell.
And she leaves Steve to cry in his beer. Tim arrives to keep him company later and tries to boost his ego, but by suggesting a big birthday bash for his upcoming 50th. Steve fancies going to a football event at the Rape Hotel, but Tim tells him that is when Tommy O's bust is being revealed. And that's all that happened there. And that was on Monday. We had no more of that this week.
No.
So I imagine that Steve is going to gate crash the Tommy O bust revelation so he can shout at Tommy O and
Is
probably
Tommy
Tracy
O
a
actually
little bit
going
more.
to be there?
You're going to have to show up for your own bust getting unveiled, surely.
He's just started this new job in Spain. Surely they're not going to let him off.
You can get back for 20 quid.
Yeah, but he has to work. He's a coach
Weekends.
now.
You'll be fine. I wish Steve would treat this woman better.
Yes.
Because she seems really nice.
And he's punching.
Oh, so hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all that happened there.
Yes.
All right, our final storyline this Where on Earth is Racist Kelly on Wednesday. Stu's alive.
And he's back from Germany.
And
oh, wait,
he's
he already was back from Germany. Never
Yeah.
mind.
And he's in Nina's Rolls chatting to Nina about Roy, and she's concerned about his mental health. And this gives Stu something to ponder. Maybe he'll write a song for Roy or something, or make him a curry. Meanwhile, a bearded Roy is playing chess in his cell when he gets a visitor from a bald inmate who wants to learn chess,
With big ears.
but warns Roy that he's thicker than shite in the neck of a bottle. He says they have a mutual friend, but Roy isn't about to put up with this joker and chases him. He doesn't take no for an answer, though, and explains that he knows Stu, who asked him to keep an eye on him.
Because remember, Stu was in prison for a
was.
very long time for a crime he
murder.
did not commit.
This softens Roy up, and he introduces himself to Roscoe, who gives him a copy of Oliver Twist from the prison library.
Because apparently Oliver Twist is Roy's favorite book. And for some reason, Stu knew that.
Yes. Later, Roy calls the cafe, speaks to Mary and asks her to thank Stu on his behalf. Stu just happens to be there and says Roscoe's a good guy in prison. So we know who he is, and he is who he says he is because Stu's just confirmed it. Because when I was watching that, I was thinking, are you really Stu's friend, Roscoe? Because he's never mentioned you.
Have you mentioned all of your friends to me?
Probably.
Probably not.
On Friday, Roy is teaching Roscoe chess in his cell. Roy's beard is patchy at best. Roscoe leaves and Roy calls Evelyn and they chat about starting up a book club between the two of them. They'll start with Poor Caroline. Joel and Dee Dee meet up in Nina's Rolls. They chat about the case, and the linguistic expert that Dee Dee found is going to take 3 months to work out if Roy sent the messages on Racist Kelly's phone or not, and their entire defence is based on this. 3 months?
Well,
she'll look at one, she'll look at the other and say, no, and then that's it.
Well, she has other cases that come first, presumably, is the problem.
Well, she's never mentioned them. Dee Dee can't
Do you
face
mention
passing...
all of your cases to me?
Yes. Dee Dee can't face passing this information on to Nina. Meanwhile, we see Griff has arrived at the prison.
Yeah, because we haven't had our fill of villains coming back. What the hell? Why?
And is he Roscoe's new cellmate? Or was it just another bald man in the shot?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
The show has a total boner for introducing or reintroducing old villains when the best old villain that the show has ever had, Mad Maya, who has just wreaked her fiery revenge on Dev and classic Corrie, is right there, would probably be out of prison by now. Bring her back. She was fucking awesome.
Or who did I say they should bring back instead of all of these idiots? Who did I say in the beginning of this podcast? Who did I say?
I wasn't listening.
Oh my God.
Phil. Phil with 2 L's.
Oh God, I would love it if Phil with 2 L's came back. He's not a villain, but I would love it if he came
You tell Tyrone
back.
that he's not a villain.
Tyrone nearly shagged the man. He's not a villain in Tyrone's eyes. That would have been the best throuple ever. Fizz, Tyrone, and Phil with 2 L's.
Nah, it was just...
It would have been perfect.
Just Tyrone and Phil.
What, is Fizz just going to sit back and watch?
Yeah.
Like Zendaya in that movie?
Mm-hmm. Back home, Joel consoles Dee Dee and tells her not to give up and gives her a bit of a pep talk. And he is such a fucking tryhard. And he gets her motivated and on the phone to speed things along with her expert. Meanwhile, Roy and Evelyn are back on the phone chatting about the book already when they're interrupted when a guard tells Roy that he's got a visitor. Sidebar. At number 8, David has found blonde hair dye under Max's bed that Max becomes very protective about because it's Lauren's. David and Sarah Platt tease him about this and suggest throwing it out, but Max has no sense of humour about this, whatever.
No, but before they find out that it's Lauren's, they assume that it's Max's, and they assume that if Max is dyeing his hair, he's gay. What era is this show being filmed in?
Yeah, that's not the reason why Max is gay.
No, but this is what David and Sarah were insinuating, was like, it's fine, we're okay with your lifestyle choices, just don't tell Gail. Mm-hmm. That's totally them assuming he's gay.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And it's what is wrong with the two of you?
Which is hilarious coming from David with that hair.
Right, and also David, who I'm sure has dyed many a man's hair who wasn't gay.
Dee Dee is Roy's visitor, and she gives him the news about the messages which came from a burner phone and are not written like him, and she's got the expert to do her report in the next week, so that's better than 3 months. Roy agrees that this is good news. On his way back to his cell, Roy is seen by Griff, who is sure that Roy killed Racist Kelly. Back in his cell, Roy is reading his book, while we see that Griff, in his cell, has already got his hands on a shank. And that is how we end this week's episodes.
Yeah. How did that happen? Where'd he get that? He just arrived. He just arrived, and he just found out that Roy is there.
So we brought back. We bought back Griff,
Yes.
ITV Corrie in name, and Nathan
Yes.
in the last 2 weeks,
Yeah.
where 2 people have had secret babies in the last fortnight, and a sex tape, revenge porn,
Deepfake
has made its reappearance.
for the third time.
Out of ideas?
At least the third time.
Out of ideas, me? Out of ideas? I can has cheeseburger?
And again, it's so infuriating because they have these good ideas that they ruin with the bad ideas. Secret adopted son trying to figure out how he fits within a family and if he wants a family. Very interesting.
Yeah.
The whole, how victims feel about documentaries being made about the people who have assaulted them and murdered their son, and how that affects them and how the media does not seem to care.
Ding, 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 ding.
Very interesting.
Interesting idea.
Yes. Immediately ruined by a deepfake sex tape. And Cassie's stupid infatuation with Kev. They deserve one another. Please. Please.
What do we think about Roy and his beard?
It was very jarring when
Yeah.
I first saw it.
You can't start growing a beard at that age, Roy. You just can't. That man has been clean shaven his
whole
entire
life.
life.
But he's in prison now, so his access to a razor might be limited.
Maybe.
Did we really need to bring Griff back?
Well, and now I honestly don't know what's happening next week. But
I'll tell you what's happening next week. Benny's graduating on Friday night, so we'll have to record the podcast on Saturday. That's what's happening next week that we know for sure.
I assume that Griff is going to hold Roy hostage and threaten to kill him. I think what we're going to get next week is 5 episodes that are all in the same day. Or, because I saw something that said that Ian McLeod has said that we're doing something that we've never done before. And what I think they might be doing, what I kind of hope they might be doing, because this might be interesting, is show the same day 5 times from different perspectives. So Monday we get what happens, and then that gives us some information, and then the story is layered upon the previous days.
Yeah.
That might be interesting. But that's what I see Griff, that's what I see his presence being. Now, is that necessary? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What does it do? It puts Roy in more peril, I guess, that has to be resolved. That he's potentially going to get his throat slit or something by this racist man. But as far as we know, next week is the racist Kelly
reveal
big
party.
announcement. The whole thing that we've been building up for the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Seems like most of this year has been racist Kelly and her disappearance. Do you think she's dead?
I don't know.
I was a firm no, she's definitely alive for the longest time.
Right.
And now I'm not sure. And if I'm honest, I'm maybe erring on that she is dead. But I got the feeling that they liked the character.
Yeah, but nobody else did.
No, because she'd never had a redemption arc.
No.
And this way, if she is dead, they don't need to give her one.
Right, which is kind of disappointing.
Huzzah. She's just dead racist Kelly.
Yeah, which is lazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Other than that, though, what I think this is missing is there's aspects of this story that are being pushed to where you think they're going to tip over into a conclusion, like Roy and the Griff stuff. That seems to be in a place where it's ready to come to boiling point.
Right.
I can't say that any other parts of the storyline that are the same, because there's nobody that seems to be on the cusp of discovering something.
Right, yeah. Which is disappointing.
The only thing that we've been given is racist Kelly's hair dye.
Right, and a burner phone that we only find out about when Dee Dee tells Roy about it, which is kind of disappointing that we don't find out about this burner phone that they found.
Or they didn't find the phone, they found that the messages came from a burner phone.
Right.
So the importance of this hair dye seems to be pretty huge.
There was something else in there with the hair dye. What else was there?
I've no idea.
And wasn't her hair already blonde? Does this mean she's not a natural blonde?
I don't think she was a natural blonde. I don't think her hair was as light blonde as it was. Because she had dark roots at some point, didn't she?
Do we think that Max helped her dye her hair even blonder as a disguise to help her escape something?
Could be. Would she dye her hair
Why would
light?
you dye your hair even blonder as opposed to, I don't know,
Ginger
brown or
or something.
black
Mm-hmm.
or something completely not your color?
Yep. And it's weird that Max has got that, and it's weird that it's under his bed.
Yeah.
What's he hiding it for? And why does he still have it?
Right.
But aside from that, are there any other clues that came out this week?
No.
The phone doesn't give us anything because
We
we
don't
don't know
have the
anything
actual
about
phone.
it.
But they're trying to trace it. Yeah. I wish we were seeing some actual sleuthing here.
We still have Nathan. We didn't see any of Nathan this week. I have no reason to believe that he's left town for that 10 grand, because those payoffs never work.
No.
So he's
they
still
just
on
want
the
more.
scene. That's the one thing that I saw was something to do with Nathan next week, but nothing concrete. So yeah, I'm just not sure which way this is going to go. It really could go in any direction. It feels as loose at this moment. The threads aren't knotted tightly at all. This could still go in any direction that they want to go in. Which kind of makes me feel like they're making it up as they're going along, kind of thing. There doesn't, there's no clues being drip fed to us that are all going to come together, and we're going to say, "Oh, wasn't that cleverly done?" Or if that happens, I will gladly eat my words and will be gladly wrong.
Right.
That there has been months worth of story building going into this, but it just doesn't feel like there is, and the whole thing really succeeds or fails on whether you give a fuck about racist Kelly or not.
Right. Which nobody really does. We do care about the whodunit, but they're not giving us an awful lot of the whodunit, which is the problem.
We want to see Roy out of prison. That's always going to happen.
Right.
And we want to see either racist Kelly back, maybe, or we want to find out who killed her, maybe. But really all we want is Roy out of prison.
Yes, very much so. I want to see Roy out of prison. So if that can happen without him being murdered, that would be nice too.
I don't know that I trust Roscoe all that much. He seems harmless enough.
Right. He's a doddering old man. But he's been in prison a long time. And if Griff threatens him in some way...
Yeah. Maybe gets him to do the dirty on Roy. Well, he's got this shank, so presumably it's going to get used, and presumably it's going to get used on Roy. So.
Right.
Well, that's something to look forward to. Roy getting stabbed in prison next week. Let's all set our Video Plus for that. So, that was the week that was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
It's Bethany and Daisy trying to make fetch happen.
Who'd have thunk?
Who'd have thunk?
Is this
Who'd have
Bethany's
thunk
first moment of the week?
I think it is.
Yeah, because we weren't doing the podcast when she was doing the
Right.
grooming storyline, weren't we?
Right, yeah.
Although we were doing it when she
Before she
knocked back
left.
his proposal, so
Right,
maybe.
and like when they were snogging one another. But we were never going to give that.
Her moments of the week, if she had any, were light on the ground. Let's put it that way. Fantastic. Good
Yes.
stuff. Bethany and Daisy
Trying to make fetch happen.
trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. That's our
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
your boring moment of the week.
Daniel telling Bethany to read a book.
Oh, God.
It's Daniel.
Was it Granny Linda this time, though?
No,
No.
because remember, it wasn't Granny Linda. It was Joseph.
No, yeah. They mentioned the bolt hole, though. Was it bolt hole? Is that a thing? Is that what she said?
I don't know. She said something like she was going to get a little house or something in the area. Mm-hmm. Which, is that woman ever going back to Spain?
Which presumably she already has, or she's staying at the rape hotel.
Still.
I guess Daniel patronising Bethany into reading a book maybe once or twice.
Wait. Is it Ken trying to console Carla?
Nah, I thought about that.
That's the only bit of Ken we get this week. Yeah, it's Daniel telling Bethany to read a book.
That's it.
Everything else was actually interesting, for the most part.
Now, I did my usual poll this week, and it actually looked like the most positive it's been since I started doing it.
I'm not surprised.
But it was pretty much a third each of yay, meh, or zzz. But the balance was, I think, more in favour of it being a good week. Not that that influences us and our scores that we give. So, Helen, let's prove that by you giving your score out of 10 this week.
6.
You enjoyed it this week?
I did enjoy it this week.
Even with the Abbey stuff and how that morphed?
Yeah, because everything else was good. And it started good. It started good with the whole, it started out an interesting story, and then it quickly turned into let's traumatize women even more now.
Yeah, I think I'm a high, meh, low, yay sort of score, which is typically around about a 6 or a 7. So I'm going to give it a 6.5. 6.5 out of 10 for me. I thought it was a good week as well. And I think it's one of those weeks where they're obviously building to the big thing.
Right.
And they typically do a decent job on that. It's usually the big thing that kind of disappoints us, but we'll see how that goes. So, let's wrap this one up then. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast: Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, and Aurora Yvonne. Thank you ever so much, guys. If you've ever dumped Steve 3 times in 3 weeks, write in to tell us about it. We are the Talk of the Street at gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, or patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store, YouTube channel, and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
This week I remind people that Doctor Who's a kids show.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
The Talk of the Street.
Talk of the Street, y'all.
Bye.
Cheerio.